The night the hunter walked into my club, I smiled and locked every exit. My name is Mason Hale. I'm an Omega. And I run Nocturne, the kind of place people pretend doesn't exist unless they need it. Soft violet light bled across the room, turning skin into silk and shadows into secrets. Music pulsed low and steady, not loud enough to overwhelm conversation, just enough to sink heartbeats into something slower, calmer, controlled. Everything here was controlled. That's the trick, see? People think power belongs to alphas, the loud ones, the ones who take up space, who bend rooms around them. They're wrong. Power belongs to the one who decides how the room feels. And tonight, something felt off. I noticed it the moment I stepped onto the main floor. The air was thicker than usual, not with desire or tension, but with something sharper, focused, like a blade wrapped in velvet. A disruption, small, precise, deliberate. I exhaled slowly, letting my senses stretch, not outward, but inward, through the room, reading posture, rhythm, breathing. The subtle shifts people never notice unless they're trained to. Someone here wasn't reacting. They were calculating. Boss, Cade appeared at my side like he always did. Silent, solid, vaguely disapproving of everything. Table 7, he said. New alpha. I didn't look yet. Define new. Never seen him. Didn't check in through the usual channels. That was already a problem. Behavior? Cade paused. Still, he said. Too still. Now that was interesting. Drunk? No. Trying to impress someone? No. Looking for trouble? Cade's mouth twitched. Looks like trouble found him first. I smiled faintly. Or he came looking for it. Finally, I let my gaze drift across the room. It didn't take long. Table 7. Of course, he wasn't doing anything obvious. No tension in his shoulders. No aggressive posture. No territorial display. Just sitting. Watching. And somehow, that was worse. Dark coat. Straight posture. Hands relaxed but not careless. His eyes moved, not quickly, not nervously, but with intention. Mapping exits. Counting distances. Measuring people. Professional. My chest tightened, not with fear. Recognition. Oh, I murmured. That's not trouble. Cade glanced at me. No? That, I said softly, is a plan. Want him removed? Cade asked. I considered it. That would be the smart move. Efficient. Safe. Boring. No, I said. I want him comfortable. Cade blinked. You... what? I want him to think he belongs here. That's a terrible idea. I said, already stepping forward, which is how you know it's mine. Every step toward him I adjusted, breathing slower, posture softer, scent, subtle, warm, non-threatening. That's the part people misunderstand about Omegas. We don't overpower. We tilt. Just enough. And suddenly, people tell you everything. I stopped at his table. He didn't look up right away. Good, disciplined, or arrogant, possibly both. Enjoying the atmosphere? I asked lightly. His gaze lifted to mine, and there it was. Not surprise, not curiosity, recognition. His eyes sharpened, just a fraction. Omega, he said, not a question. I smiled. Manager, I corrected. A pause. Then, barely, his lips moved. Oh, he said. That explains it. Explains what? The control. I tilted my head, amused despite myself. Flattery won't get you better service. I'm not flattering you, he said calmly. No? I'm observing. Of course you are. Then let me return the favor, I said, sliding into the seat across from him without asking. You're not here for the music. No, not for the drinks. No, not even for the company, I added, gesturing vaguely at the room. His gaze didn't leave mine. No. I leaned back slightly, studying him. Then that leaves one option. And what's that? He asked. I smiled. You're here for me. A beat. Then, finally, a reaction. not visible to most, but I saw it. The smallest shift in his breathing, the faintest tension in his jaw. Interesting, bold assumption, he said. I run a place like this, I replied softly. I don't make assumptions. I let the silence stretch just long enough. Then, you're not a guest, I said. His eyes darkened slightly. And you, he said, voice just as quiet, are not just a manager. We held each other's gaze. Two people, two roles, neither honest. Careful, I said with a small smile. You're starting to sound suspicious. And you're not, he countered. Oh, I am, I said easily. I just do it better. That almost got another smile. Almost. I stood, smoothing my sleeve. Well, I said. Welcome to Nocturne. He didn't move, didn't look away. Raven, he said. Not an introduction. A statement. Good. Then I stepped closer. Just enough for only him to hear. Mason, I replied quietly. A pause. And then, softer. I know why you're here. For the first time. He didn't answer immediately, and that was all the confirmation I needed. As I walked away, I could feel his gaze on my back. Sharp, focused, patient, a hunter. I smiled to myself, because he wasn't the only one. The security room sat behind a mirrored wall on the second level, one of my favorite design choices. From the outside, it was just another reflective panel. From the inside, it was everything. Cameras, angles, blind spots, truth. I leaned against the console, arms loosely crossed, watching Raven through 3 different feeds. Main floor, bar, east, exit. He hadn't moved much. That alone was suspicious. Still there? Cade asked from behind me. Drinking? I watched the screen. A glass sat in front of Raven, untouched. No. Talking to anyone? No. Cade exhaled through his nose. I don't like him. That's because you recognize competence, I said lightly. I recognize problems. Yes, I said. And he's a very well-dressed one. I switched to a closer angle, zoomed just enough to catch the details. Gaze wasn't random. It moved in patterns. Entrance, exit, staff corridor, emergency, stairwell, back to the bar. Then, pause. A group of alphas passed too close, their scent sharp with competition and alcohol. Raven didn't react, didn't tense, didn't assert dominance. He simply adjusted his breathing. Controlled, measured, deliberate. My lips curved slightly. Interesting, I murmured. What? Cade asked. He's filtering. The room, I said. The noise, the scent, the chaos. Cade frowned. That's not normal. No, I agreed softly. It's trained. I pushed away from the console. I'm going down. Cade groaned. Again, with the bad ideas. Relax, I said. If he wanted to make a move, he would have already. That doesn't make me feel better. It shouldn't. The bar was quieter than the main floor. Lower lighting, slower music, softer conversations. A place for people who preferred observation over participation. Naturally, that's where he'd migrated. Raven sat at the far end now, the untouched drink still in front of him. The bartender hovered nearby, clearly unsure whether to be offended or impressed. I slipped into the seat beside him. You're hurting my bartender's feelings, I said. Without looking at me, Raven replied, He'll recover. Eventually, I said. But we pride ourselves on customer satisfaction. I'm satisfied. You haven't even taken a sip. I didn't come here to drink. I rested my elbow on the bar, turning slightly toward him. No, I said. You came here to watch. Now he looked at me. Slowly, deliberately. And you came here, he said, to make sure I don't see too much. A pause. Then I smiled. That depends, I said. Are you seeing too much? That depends, he echoed. On what you're trying to hide. There it was. Not confrontation, not accusation. A test. I let out a soft breath, almost amused. You're very direct for someone who's supposed to be blending in, and you're very obvious for someone who's supposed to be subtle. I laughed. Quiet, genuine. Oh, I'm not subtle, I said. I'm just selective. With what? With who notices? The bartender placed a fresh glass in front of me. I ignored it. Raven's gaze flicked briefly to it. Then back to me. You've been watching me, he said. Not a question. Of course, I replied easily. You stood out. I was sitting still. Exactly. A beat. Then, very faintly, his expression shifted. Not quite a smile, but close enough to be dangerous. You adjusted the temperature when I came in, he said. I blinked once. Interesting. Did the first? 2 degrees, he said. And you rerouted your staff away from the east corridor. Cade was going to hate that he noticed. And? I asked lightly. And, Raven said, voice calm, steady, certain. You've been managing the room around me since the moment I walked in. Silence stretched between us. Not uncomfortable. Not hostile. Just sharp. I tilted my head, studying him in return. Then I suppose the real question is, I said softly, why you're still here. His gaze didn't waver. Because, he said, you haven't asked me to leave. I smiled. Not yet. For a moment, neither of us moved. The music shifted. The lights dimmed just slightly. The room breathed. And somewhere beneath it all, the tension changed. Less suspicion. More curiosity. Raven reached for his glass. Finally, he took a slow sip, then set it down again, and looked at me. I'll stay, he said. Like it was a decision. Like it mattered. I pushed off the bar, standing. Good, I said lightly. Then, just before I walked away, try to enjoy yourself. A pause. Then, softer. I'd hate for all that observation to go to waste. As I moved toward the stairs, I could feel it again. That shift. That awareness. He wasn't just watching anymore. He was playing. And for the first time that night, I was looking forward to it. There are rules in Nocturne. Most of them are invisible. The important ones always are. The very important person level sat above the main floor, separated by glass, mirrors, and just enough illusion to make people feel like they were somewhere better. Softer lighting, deeper shadows, conversations that never rose above a murmur, deals made with glances instead of words. And every inch of it, mine. Let him up, I told Cade. There was a pause in my earpiece. You're serious. Always. He hasn't been cleared. He has now. A sigh. Long suffering. Familiar. You're going to get me killed one day. Not today, I said lightly. I'm busy. Raven didn't question it when one of my staff approached him. Didn't look surprised. Of course he didn't. He followed calmly, as if he'd expected the invitation all along, which meant one of 2 things. Either he was very good at improvising, or he was very good at planning. I already knew which one my money was on. From the upper balcony, I watched him enter, every step measured. No hesitation, no curiosity that wasn't controlled. His gaze moved once, quick, efficient, taking in exits, guards, spacing. Then it settled, like he'd already mapped it all. Cade stepped into his path. Good. Let's see how you handle pressure. Very important person is private, Cade said flatly, blocking his way. Invitation only. I was invited, Raven replied. No name on the list. Then your list is wrong. I almost smiled. Confidence, not arrogance. Important distinction. Cade shifted slightly, just enough to make it a challenge. A test. Most alphas would push. Assert dominance. Escalate. Raven didn't. Instead, he stepped closer, but not into Cade's space. Just near enough. Grounded. Unmovable. His voice dropped, calm and precise. You don't want to do this here. Cade didn't move. Why not? Because, Raven said evenly, you're responsible for keeping this place controlled. A beat. Then, softer. And I'm the only one here who won't lose control if you push. Silence. Tight. Sharp. Perfect. Cade stepped aside. Not defeated. Not submissive. Just acknowledging. Enjoy your night, he muttered. Raven inclined his head slightly. Respect returned. Exactly as it should be. I exhaled slowly. There it was. No unnecessary aggression. No posturing. Just quiet, absolute dominance. Professional. Impressed? I didn't turn. I expected competence, I said. Not restraint. Cade crossed his arms. You're enjoying this. Immensely. I descended the stairs before Raven could go any further, cutting him off halfway into the room. He stopped when he saw me. Of course he did. Very important person has rules, I said. And I'm guessing you enforce them, he replied. I do more than that. I stepped closer, just inside his space, close enough to feel the controlled weight of his presence, close enough to let him feel mine. Subtle, intentional. You're too controlled to be a guest, I said quietly. His gaze locked onto mine. Steady, unflinching. And you're too calm to be just a manager. A pause. Something flickered between us. Recognition. Challenge. Interest. Careful, I murmured. You're starting to figure things out. I already have, he said. Oh? You run this place like a system, he said. Not a business. I smiled slightly. And you walk into it like you're already inside the code. That, finally, earned me the faintest shift in his expression. Not surprise. Approval. Around us, the very important person lounge continued its quiet hum. Deals. Conversations. Soft laughter. But none of it touched us. Not really. You shouldn't be here, I said. Then why let me in? I held his gaze. Because I want to see what you do next. Because you're not what you're pretending to be. Because I already know. But instead I said, I like interesting problems. His eyes darkened slightly. Be careful, he said. Some problems don't stay contained. I leaned in just a fraction. Neither do I. For a moment. Just a moment. It felt like the entire room held its breath. Then I stepped back, smile returning. Light. Effortless. Try not to break anything, I said. It's expensive. Raven watched me like he was recalculating something. Or someone. As I turned away, I could feel it. The shift again. Stronger now. Sharper. He wasn't just testing the system anymore. He was testing me. There's a moment, right before everything goes wrong, when the room shifts. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just enough. Like a glass about to crack. I felt it before I saw it. I was halfway down the stairs from very important person when the energy snapped. Two alphas near the center of the floor. Too close, too loud, too full of themselves. Crossed the invisible line I spend every night maintaining. Posture stiffened. Voices dropped. Then rose. Wrong direction. Cade, I said into my earpiece. Already moving. Good. The first shove was almost polite. The second wasn't. Music kept playing. Lights didn't change. Most people didn't even notice. That's the thing about Nocturne. Chaos is allowed. Uncontrolled chaos is not. I stepped onto the main floor just as one of them swung. Missed. Barely. The other didn't. Contact. A sharp crack. Now people noticed. Break it up, I said, voice calm, carrying just enough. Cade and two others moved in. And then stopped. Because someone else got there first. Raven. Of course. He didn't rush. Didn't hesitate. Just stepped in. Precise. Efficient. One hand caught a wrist mid-swing. The other redirected momentum. No brute force. Just control. The aggressor stumbled, thrown off balance without understanding why. Raven moved with him. Close. Grounded. Unshakable. Enough, he said. Not loud. Didn't need to be. The second alpha lunged. Predictable. Raven shifted once. Minimal. Perfect. A twist. A step. A controlled push. The man hit the floor, breath knocked out of him. More surprise than hurt. Silence rippled outward. Not fear, recognition. Raven stepped back immediately. No victory, no dominance display. Just done, like it had never been a fight to begin with. I watched him, not the movement. The aftermath. His breathing was steady. His scent, controlled. No adrenaline spike, no emotional bleed, nothing. Trained. Cade, I said quietly, eyes still on Raven. Handle the rest. Yeah, he muttered, already moving. Walk with me, I said. Raven didn't argue, didn't question, just followed. The private room sealed behind us with a soft click. Soundproof. Neutral lighting. No audience. No distractions. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I turned, really looked at him. That wasn't instinct, I said. No. That wasn't improvisation. No. I took a slow step closer. That was training. His gaze didn't waver. Yes, there it was. No denial, no deflection. Just truth, carefully measured. I exhaled softly, something between a laugh and a sigh. Well, I said. That simplifies things. Does it? Oh, very much. I tilted my head, studying him like a puzzle I'd already solved. You're here to shut me down, aren't you? Silence. Heavy, this time. Real. Raven didn't answer immediately, which was answer enough. I thought so, I murmured. Nocturne. Reports, complaints, whispers about illegal fights. I gestured vaguely. Very dramatic. His jaw tightened slightly. Then you know why I'm here. I know what you think you're here for. A flicker in his eyes. Annoyance? Good. And what is that? He asked. To clean up a problem, I said. To remove a threat. I stepped closer. Close enough to feel the edge of him again. Sharp, controlled, dangerous. But here's the interesting part, I added softly. I met his gaze, held it, didn't soften, didn't yield. You haven't made your move. A pause. Then, not yet, he said. I smiled. Slow, deliberate. Then let me make something very clear, Raven. My voice dropped, not louder, but heavier. You're in my territory. For the first time, the air between us didn't feel like a game. It felt like a line, and we were both standing right on it. My office doesn't look like a place where people get threatened. That's intentional. Warm lighting, dark wood, clean lines, a low couch instead of rigid chairs, no desk between me and whoever I'm speaking to, no barriers, no obvious power plays, just space. People relax in spaces like that. They forget they're being handled. Raven didn't. Of course he didn't. He stood near the window, not sitting, not pacing, just occupying space like he had every right to it. I closed the door behind us. Soft click. Private. Contained. Well, I said lightly, crossing the room. This is usually the part where people start lying. I don't lie, he said. I glanced at him. That's a bold claim. It's an efficient one. I huffed a quiet laugh. Efficient, I repeated, dropping onto the couch. I like that. He didn't sit. Interesting. Comfortable, I offered, gesturing lazily to the seat across from me. I am, he said. Right. Of course you are. I studied him for a moment, then leaned back, stretching my arm along the back of the couch. So, I said, let's try something new. His gaze sharpened slightly. Go on. Honesty. A pause. Then. Fine, he said. I smiled. Good. I tilted my head. You're here on behalf of the council. Yes. No hesitation. No deflection. Just a clean, precise answer. And your job, I continued, is to investigate Nocturne. Yes. And if you don't like what you find, a beat, then I shut it down. There it was. Out in the open. Sharp. Simple. Real. I exhaled slowly, something almost amused curling at the edge of my mouth. You're very polite, I said, For someone planning my downfall. Raven's lips moved. Barely. Professional courtesy? Oh, is that what this is? I said. I was hoping it was personal. It could be, he replied evenly. I laughed, genuinely this time. Careful, I said. That almost sounded like flirting. Silence stretched between us. Not empty, measured. You're not surprised, he said after a moment. No. You already knew. I suspected, and you let me stay. I met his gaze. Held it. Yes. Another pause. This one heavier. Why? He asked. Because throwing you out would confirm everything. Because watching you is more useful than fighting you. Because you're interesting. Because I want to see what you choose. Because, I said instead, you haven't done anything yet. His eyes narrowed slightly. I will. I know. And you're fine with that? I tilted my head. No, I said calmly. But I'm prepared for it. That landed. I could see it. The shift. Not doubt. Not yet. But awareness. You're confident, he said. I'm informed. That's not the same thing. No, I agreed. But it's close enough. He finally moved. Stepped closer. Slow. Deliberate. Not aggressive. But not passive either. You're protecting something, he said. Not a question. I smiled. Of course I am. What? I leaned forward slightly, resting my forearms on my knees. That, I said softly, is where your job gets interesting. Silence again. But this time, it wasn't a standoff. It was a line being drawn. Clear. Intentional. You're not going to stop me, Raven said. No, I agreed. And you're not going to help me. I smiled. Oh, I wouldn't say that. A flicker of confusion. Good. I'm going to let you look, I said. I'm going to let you ask questions. And in return, I leaned back, relaxed again. In return, I said lightly, you try not to break anything expensive. That, finally, earned me something real. A quiet, almost reluctant huff of amusement. Deal? I asked. He watched me for a long second. Then, deal. The game had rules now. Official ones. Which meant it had begun. There are places in Nocturne that aren't on any map. Not because they're hidden. Because they're earned. I didn't take Raven down there. That would have defeated the point. So I let the club do what it does best. Guide him. The entrance is subtle. A corridor that shouldn't exist. A door that looks like storage. A guard who doesn't stop you. If you walk like you belong. Raven found it anyway. Of course he did. I watched from the upper railing. One level above the underground floor. Out of sight but not out of reach. The arena wasn't large. It didn't need to be. A circular space. Reinforced flooring. Dim lighting focused inward, leaving the edges in shadow. Enough room for movement. Not enough for chaos. People stood around it. Not cheering. Not shouting. Watching. Always watching. Raven stepped in quietly. No hesitation. No announcement. Just presence. His gaze moved once. Quick. Efficient. Taking everything in. Fighters. Spacing. Exits. Medical station. Then. The match started. 2 alphas. Different builds. Different styles. Same tension. Raven's posture shifted. Subtly. Ready. Expecting escalation. The first strike came fast. Sharp. Clean. The second followed. Then a sequence. Controlled. Measured. No wild swings. No loss of rhythm. No blind aggression. Raven frowned. Just slightly. He moved closer to the edge of the ring. Watching harder now. Not the fight. The structure. A hit landed. Solid. The kind that would normally trigger dominance, rage, a spiral. Instead, the fighter stepped back. Reset. Waited. Raven's eyes narrowed. Time. A voice cut through the space. Calm. Authoritative. The match stopped instantly. No argument. No resistance. One of the fighters stepped aside, breathing heavy, but stable. Not broken. Not pushed past control. A medic approached immediately. Checked vitals. Applied something to a bruise. Efficient. Routine. Expected. Raven didn't move. Didn't speak. Just watched. Good. Now you're starting to see. Another match began. Different pairing. Same pattern. Controlled engagement. Measured force. Clear boundaries. No one was trying to win. They were trying to manage. Release. Regulate. Raven exhaled slowly. I saw it. That shift. Doubt. He stepped back slightly, gaze flicking across the room again, recalculating, reframing. This wasn't what he expected. Not illegal fights. Not chaos. Not brutality. Something else. I leaned against the railing, arms crossed, watching him instead of the arena now. Because the fight? That wasn't the point. He was. Raven's jaw tightened. Not in anger. In confusion. He looked at the medics again. At the fighters. At the structure. The rules. The control. Then, finally, up, toward the shadows. Toward where I stood. He couldn't see me. Not really. But he knew. Of course he did. I smiled slightly. Because this was the moment. The first crack. The one where the hunter realizes the thing he came to destroy might not be what he thought it was. Raven didn't come looking for me after the arena. That was the first sign something had shifted. Before, he would have followed. Pressed. Tested. Now? He thought. Recalculated. Good. I found him anyway. He was back on the second level, leaning against the railing, eyes on the floor below, but not really seeing it. Still processing. Still trying to fit what he saw into the version of the world he'd been given. Disappointed? I asked, stepping beside him. He didn't look at me. No. A pause. Confused, he added. I smiled faintly. That's progress. He turned then. Studied me. Harder than before. What is that place? He asked. Relief. I said simply. That's not what it looks like. No, I agreed. It rarely is. I pushed off the railing. Come on. This time I didn't let him find the door. I opened it for him. The hallway beyond the very important person level wasn't meant for guests. No music, no mirrors, no illusion. Just clean walls, soft lighting, and the quiet kind of security you don't notice unless you're looking for it. Raven noticed. Of course he did. Where are we going? He asked. To the part you're actually here for. The first room I showed him was small. Simple. A couch, a table, a window that didn't open, and a girl. She couldn't have been older than 20. Omega, curled into the corner of the couch, like she was trying to take up as little space as possible. Until she wasn't. The shift was instant. Her head snapped up. Eyes sharp. Too sharp. Her scent spiked. Wild, defensive, unpredictable. Raven stilled beside me. Not reacting. But ready. She's fine, I said quietly. The girl's breathing quickened. Hands tightening, then loosening, then tightening again. Easy, I murmured, stepping just slightly forward. Not too close, never too close. Her gaze flicked to me. Recognition. Not calm, but less chaos. She has episodes, I said, without looking away from her. Short, intense, unpredictable. Raven's voice was low. Dangerous. No, I said. A beat. Then I glanced at him. Alone. The word landed. I saw it. She doesn't hurt anyone, I continued. She never has another breath. She just doesn't fit anywhere else. The girl's shoulders lowered, just a fraction. Enough. I stepped back, closed the door gently behind us. Raven didn't speak. Good. He was learning when not to. The next room was larger, reinforced, and occupied. An alpha, mid-30s, broad shoulders. Steady stance, until he wasn't. A sound from the hallway, a sharp one, metal against metal, his body locked. Instant, total. His breath changed. Too fast. Too shallow. His eyes unfocused, then snapped back with something darker behind them. Something reactive. Instinctive. Raven shifted beside me. Not aggressive. Not dominant. Just present. The alpha's gaze flicked to him. Tension spiked. For a second I thought. Then it passed. Barely. But enough. A staff member stepped in quietly. Spoke low. Calm. Grounding. The alpha exhaled. Slow. Controlled. Back. Raven watched all of it. Every detail. Every shift. He's trained. Raven said quietly. Yes. To fight? To stop, I corrected. Silence. I stepped closer to Raven. Not invading. Not softening. Just steady. The council calls them unstable, I said. My voice didn't rise. Didn't sharpen. But it carried. I met his gaze. Held it. I call them alive. Something changed in his expression. Not fully. Not yet. But enough. Understanding wasn't there. Not completely. But doubt was. And sometimes, that's where it starts. We didn't go back to the music. That would have been dishonest. Instead, I led Raven to the quietest place in Nocturne. The roof. The city stretched below us. Glass, light, movement. Distant enough to feel unreal. Up here, the air was cooler. Cleaner. Less complicated. For a while, neither of us spoke. Raven leaned against the railing, gaze fixed somewhere beyond the skyline. Thinking. Good. You were wrong, he said finally. I raised a brow. That's not something I hear often. You're not running illegal fights. No. A pause. But you are hiding something. I smiled faintly. Of course, I am. Silence again. Softer this time. Less sharp. They're not criminals, he said. Not a question. A realization. No, I agreed. Then why are they here? I exhaled slowly, watching the city lights flicker. Because nowhere else will take them. That's not an answer. It is, I said quietly. Just not one you like. He turned to me then. Really looked. No performance. No edge. Just searching. The council flagged Nocturne as a containment risk, he said. Unregulated. Potentially violent. Unstable population. I huffed a soft laugh. They do love their labels. They don't issue them lightly. No, I said. They issue them conveniently. His eyes narrowed slightly. What does that mean? I held his gaze. Didn't soften. Didn't deflect. It means, I said, that the council doesn't manage instability. A beat. They eliminate it. The words hung there. Heavy. Unavoidable. Raven didn't react immediately. Which, somehow, made it worse. That's not, he started. It is. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't push. Just stated it. They don't call it that, I continued. They call it relocation. Rehabilitation. Risk mitigation. A small pause. They're very creative. Raven's jaw tightened. They wouldn't. They do. I stepped closer. Not aggressive. But not retreating either. They take people like the ones you saw, I said. People who don't fit cleanly into their system. My voice softened. Not weaker. Just real. And they make them disappear. Silence. Deep. Uncomfortable. Raven looked away first. Out. Over. The city. Breathing slower now. Like he was trying to steady something inside himself. I've seen the reports, he said. Yes. They didn't say that. They wouldn't. A long pause. Why tell me? He asked quietly. Because you're already questioning. Because you haven't acted. Because you chose control over force. Because I want you to see. Because, I said, you haven't shut us down yet. He glanced back at me. Something in his eyes had shifted. Not trust, not yet, but something closer than before. I still might, he said. I know. And you're still letting me stay. Yes. Another pause. But this one, different, less like a standoff. More like a balance. I need proof. he said. Of course you do. I stepped back, giving him space, giving him choice. You can keep looking, I said. Ask questions, watch everything. A faint smile, but be careful, Raven. He frowned slightly. Why? Because the more you see. I met his gaze one last time. The harder it gets to pretend you don't. The city feels different when you leave Nocturne. Colder, louder, less controlled. I didn't follow Raven out. That would have been a mistake. Some choices have to be made without an audience. But I knew where he'd go. People like him don't disappear into the night. They report to it. Later, Cade handed me a quiet update. He's outside, he said. Hasn't left the block. Of course he hasn't, I murmured. Want me to move him along? No. I glanced toward the darkened window. Let him think, because tonight, thinking was dangerous. Raven. The car engine idled beneath me. A low, steady vibration, familiar, predictable, unlike everything else tonight. I sat in the driver's seat, one hand resting loosely on the wheel, the other holding my phone. The screen glowed. One message. Encrypted. Direct. Report. Status. I stared at it for a long moment. Then typed. No illegal activity confirmed. Further investigation required. 3 seconds. That's how long it took. The reply came almost instantly. Insufficient. Proceed to Phase 2. My jaw tightened. Phase 2 didn't mean investigation. It meant closure. Another message followed. Target classification updated. Containment failure. Authorized response. Termination. Silence filled the car. Heavy. Compressed. I read it again. Slower this time. Termination. Nocturne. Everyone inside it. My grip on the phone tightened. That's not what it is. I muttered under my breath. Images flashed. Uninvited. The arena. Controlled. Measured. Safe. The Omega on the couch. Trying not to exist too loudly. The Alpha. Triggering on sound. Fighting to come back. Unstable. That's what the council called them. Alive. That's what Mason had said. My phone buzzed again. Confirm execution window. I exhaled slowly. Steady. Controlled. This was simple. It had always been simple. Identify the threat. Neutralize it. Move on. Except, this didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a lie. I leaned back in the seat, staring through the windshield at the street ahead. Nocturne's entrance was just visible from here. Subtle, unremarkable, deliberate. A place that wasn't supposed to exist. And yet, it did. My thumb hovered over the screen. One message, one confirmation. That's all it would take. Inside, something tightened. Not hesitation, not fear. Conflict. Damn it, I muttered. I opened a secure channel. Voice, this time. Not text. Agent Raven, the voice on the other end said. Cold, precise, familiar. Status. I didn't answer immediately. Raven. My gaze drifted back to the club, to the people inside it, to the system Mason had built. They're not what you think, I said. A pause. They're a liability, the voice replied. Correct it. I closed my eyes for a second. Just one, then opened them again. What if the classification is wrong? I asked. Silence. Then, cool, unmoved. It isn't. Of course it isn't. My grip tightened on the wheel. Proceed, the voice said. Or we will. The line went dead. The car was quiet again. Too quiet. I sat there for a long moment. Long enough for the engine to feel too loud. Long enough for the night to feel too still. Then I looked back at Nocturne. And for the first time since I walked in, I didn't see a target. I saw a choice. The roof, again. Of course it was the roof. Somewhere along the way, it had become neutral ground. No music, no audience, no lies that could hide behind noise. I heard the door before I saw him. Measured steps, controlled breathing. Still the same, not untouched, but trying. You're late, I said, not turning. A pause. I didn't realize this was scheduled. It wasn't, I said. You just strike me as someone who hates being predictable. A quiet exhale. Then why did you know I'd be here? I smiled faintly. Because you're not predictable. I turned then, met his gaze. You're consistent. Raven stepped closer, stopping just within reach. Close enough to feel the weight of him, not close enough to touch. You knew, he said. About the orders? I asked. He didn't answer. Didn't need to. I didn't need to hear them, I said softly. I've seen the pattern before. His jaw tightened. They don't call it that. I know. Silence stretched between us. Not sharp this time. Heavy. They want me to shut it down, he said. I know. They will if I don't. I know. He huffed a quiet breath, something between frustration and disbelief. You're very calm about this. I tilted my head. I run a place full of people the council wants erased, I said. Calm is kind of a requirement. That earned a small shift in his expression. Not quite amusement, but close. You're impossible, he said. I've been called worse. I'm sure you have. Frequently. For a moment. It almost felt normal. Then it didn't. They're not a threat, he said quietly. No. They're not violent. No. They're... He stopped, searching. Alive? I offered. His gaze snapped back to mine. That's not enough, he said. It should be a beat. Then, you're asking me to go against the council. I stepped closer, not pushing, not demanding, just present. I'm asking you to see, I said. He looked at me like that was somehow worse. I do see, he said. That's the problem. Our space narrowed. Not intentionally, not consciously. Just naturally. I could feel it now. Not tension. Not exactly. Something sharper. Quieter. More dangerous. You're making this difficult, he said. I thought you liked difficult. I like clear. And this isn't? No, he said. This is... He stopped. What? I asked softly. His gaze dropped. Briefly. To my lips. Ah, there it is. Complicated, he finished. I smiled. Slow. Unfair. Careful, I murmured. You're starting to sound human. That did it. A flicker of something real crossed his face. Annoyance. Amusement. Something warmer underneath. You're distracting me, he said. I'm managing the atmosphere. That's not the same thing. Tonight it is. We were close now. Closer than we should have been. Closer than either of us acknowledged. Raven, I said quietly. He didn't move. Didn't step back. This doesn't end cleanly, I added. I know. Another pause. You could walk away, I said. You know I won't. I held his gaze. Then, just slightly, leaned in. Not enough to commit. Not enough to cross the line. But enough. He didn't pull back. Didn't move at all. For a second, it felt like the world narrowed to a single point. Breath. Distance. Choice. Then, he exhaled. Stepped back. Just enough. Not yet, he said. I smiled. Softer this time. Less sharp. More real. Yeah, I murmured. Not yet. You learn to recognize the sound of danger. Not the loud kind. Not shouting. Not breaking glass. No. The precise kind. The kind that arrives on schedule. I felt it before it happened. A shift in the air. Too clean. Too quiet. Cade, I said into my earpiece. A beat. Then, yeah, he replied. Tense. Alert. You feel that? I do. Perimeter just went dark. Of course it did. Lock internal access, I said, already moving. Route everyone from the lower levels to the east deck. Already on it. Good. The first impact didn't come from inside. It came from the doors. A sharp, controlled breach. Not explosive, not messy, professional. Music cut instantly. Lights shifted, low emergency glow. People froze, then moved. Fast. Stay calm, I called, voice cutting through the room. Follow staff. No running. Control the temperature, even now. Especially now. The second breach came from the west corridor. Too coordinated, too precise. They're inside, Cade said. I know. Figures moved through the entrance. Dark uniforms, no insignia. Clean lines, controlled movements. Council. My chest tightened. Not fear. Recognition. This wasn't a warning. This was a decision. Secure the residence, I said. No one gets left behind. On it. A scream cut through the noise. Short, sharp, then silence. I turned and saw him, Raven, standing at the edge of the floor, not fighting, not stopping them, not doing anything. For a second, just a second, everything went still. Of course it was him. You. The word caught in my throat. Sharp, bitter. I should have known. I did know. From the moment he walked in. From the way he watched. From the way he didn't act. This was the plan. Mason. Cade's voice snapped me back. They're heading for the lower level. Of course they were. That's where the real threat was. The people the council didn't want to exist. I moved. Fast. Down the corridor. Through the door. Into the space we'd built to keep them safe. Everyone up, I said, voice steady despite the pressure building in my chest. We're moving. Now, fear flickered in their eyes. But they listened. They always did. Behind me. Footsteps. I turned. Raven. Of course. Don't, I said. Sharp. He stopped. Just inside the doorway. This isn't what you think. Don't, I repeated. Louder this time. Something inside me cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just enough. I knew, I said, voice low, controlled. I knew what you were the moment you walked in. His jaw tightened. Mason, you got what you needed, I cut in. You saw everything. My hands curled slightly at my sides. And then you called them in. Silence. That's not. Don't lie to me, I snapped. There it was. Anger. Sharp. Hot. Uncontrolled. For the first time, I let it through. They trusted this place, I said. They trusted me. My voice dropped. Not weaker. Just heavier. And I trusted you. That landed. I saw it. Good. You shouldn't have, Raven said quietly. That hurt more than anything else. Of course I shouldn't have. Get out of my way, I said. He didn't move. Mason. I stepped closer. Not soft. Not careful. If you're here to finish the job, I said, voice low and sharp, then do it. A beat. But don't pretend this is anything else. Silence stretched between us. Thick. Broken. Then I turned. Didn't wait. Didn't look back. Because if I did, I wasn't sure what I'd see, and I wasn't sure I could handle it. There's a difference between chaos and collapse. Chaos can be managed. Collapse? Collapse is when control stops listening. Move, I said, guiding people through the back corridor. Stay close. Don't split up. The hallway felt too narrow now. Too loud. Too alive with fear. Behind us, the club was coming apart. Not exploding. Not burning. Worse. Systematically dismantled. Doors breached. Routes cut off. Containment. They're blocking the east exit. Someone shouted. Of course they were. Cade? I called. Rerouting. He snapped back. North stairwell, go. I changed direction instantly. North, I said. Steady. Follow me. A hand grabbed my sleeve. Are we going to make it? I looked down. The Omega from earlier. The one who tried to disappear. Yes, I said. I didn't hesitate. Didn't soften it. Because right now, belief was more important than truth. We turned the corner. and ran straight into them. Council operatives. 2. Blocking the stairwell. Step back, one of them said. Calm. Detached. My body went still. Mind racing. Calculating. There was no space. No time. No alternative route. Behind me. People shifting. Fear rising. Control slipping. Stay behind me, I said quietly. I stepped forward. Slow. Measured. Let them pass, I said. The operative didn't move. They're flagged. Of course they were. I felt it then. That familiar edge. The one I spend every night holding back. Not dominance. Not aggression. Something quieter. Sharper. Move, I said again. He didn't. A second. Stretched. Then. Everything broke. A body hit the operative from the side. Fast. Precise. Controlled. The man went down. Hard. Go. A voice snapped. Raven. Of course. I didn't look at him. Didn't acknowledge it. Move, I repeated. Pushing people forward. Past him. Through the opening. Into the stairwell. Behind us. More noise. More impact. More controlled violence. I kept moving. Didn't stop. Didn't turn. Because if I did... No. We reached the lower exit. Emergency access. Hidden. Unregistered. Cade was there. Clear, he said. Go, go. One by one they passed through. Safe. Alive. That's all that mattered. Everyone accounted for? I asked. Almost, Cade said. A few still inside. I turned, just slightly, toward the corridor. Movement. Shadows. A figure stepping back from a fallen operative. Raven. For a second, our eyes met. No words. No explanation. Just distance. I looked away first. Seal it, I said. Cade hesitated. Boss. Seal it. The door shut. Heavy. Final. Cutting the noise. Cutting the chaos. Cutting him off. Silence filled the space. Thick. Unsteady. Someone exhaled shakily. Someone else started crying. I stood there. Still. Breathing. Alive. They were alive. That's what mattered. That's what I told myself. Because the alternative, the look in his eyes... No. I turned away. And for the first time since this started, I felt it. Not anger. Not fear. Loss. The city looks different when you've just lost something. Sharper. Quieter. Like it's waiting to see what you'll do next. We didn't go back to Nocturne. There wasn't anything left to go back to. Temporary space. Neutral ground. A half-empty warehouse we used when things went wrong. Not broken. Just displaced. I stood near the window, arms crossed, staring out at nothing in particular. Breathing. Counting. Staying still. Footsteps behind me. Measured. Familiar. Of course. You shouldn't be here, I said without turning. A pause. I know. I closed my eyes for a second, then opened them again. Still didn't turn. Then why are you? Because you're wrong. That got my attention. I turned, slowly. Raven stood a few steps away. No coat this time. No distance. Just him. Careful, I said. That's a bold way to start a conversation. You think I did this? I know you did. His jaw tightened. I didn't. Silence. Sharp. You expect me to believe that? I asked. No, he said. A beat. But I need you to listen. I almost laughed. Didn't. They gave the order, he continued. Before I confirmed anything. Before I made a call. I held his gaze. Unmoved. I told them it wasn't what they thought, he said. I tried to delay it. Delay, I repeated softly. That's comforting. I didn't authorize the attack, but you didn't stop it either. That landed. I saw it. I couldn't, he said quietly. For a second. Just a second. I saw something I hadn't before. Not control. Not calculation. Frustration. Real. They were going to move with or without me, he continued. At least this way, I was inside. To what? I snapped. Watch it happen? To minimize it. Silence. Heavy. Unsteady. You think I don't know what they do? He said. Voice low. You think I haven't seen it? Then why are you still working for them? A pause. Because someone has to be in a position to push back. I exhaled slowly. The anger was still there. Sharp. Present. But something else had slipped in. Doubt. You helped them, I said. I helped you, he replied. I stilled. The stairwell, he said. The corridor. I cleared it. Memory flashed. Movement. Impact. A voice. Go. I looked at him. Really looked this time. You expect that to fix this? I asked. No. A beat. But it should change it. Silence stretched. Not as sharp now. Not as broken. You're not my enemy, he said. I let that sit. Felt it. Tested it. Then, quietly, no, I said. A pause. But you're not on my side either. Something shifted in his expression. Not relief. Not yet. Understanding. Then let me be, he said. I held his gaze. Long. Measured. Then, finally, prove it. The thing about losing control is that you learn exactly what matters and exactly what you're willing to burn to get it back. The warehouse wasn't much, but it was enough. Enough space. Enough quiet. Enough time. I stood over the table, looking at the rough layout Kate had sketched from memory. Council routes, transport patterns, processing facilities, all the places they didn't officially have. All the places I'd always suspected. Raven stood across from me. Not watching. Working. That's where they move them, he said, tapping a point on the map. Temporary holding. No records. No oversight. Convenient, I muttered. For them, he agreed. Cade leaned against the wall, arms crossed. I still don't like him, he said. Noted, I replied. Raven didn't react. Smart. This isn't just about Nocturne anymore, I said, straightening. If we hit back, it has to matter. It will, Raven said. I looked at him. You're very confident. I'm very informed. I almost smiled. Then, inform me, I said. He stepped closer to the table. Not dominating. Not leading. Just aligning. They rely on silence, he said. No witnesses. No documentation. No trace. So we give them one. Yes. I tilted my head. Public exposure? Controlled exposure, he corrected. Too much, and they bury it. Too little, and it disappears. Balance, I said. He met my gaze. Exactly. For a moment, it felt familiar. Not the conflict. Not the tension. The rhythm. What about the people they already took? I asked. A flicker crossed his face. Brief. Gone too fast. We get them out, he said. Simple. Direct. Impossible. I studied him. You're serious? Yes. You're planning to go against the council? Yes. You understand what that means? A beat. Yes. Silence settled over the room. Not heavy. Not sharp. Solid. All right, I said. Cade straightened slightly. Raven didn't move. Then we do it properly, I continued. No improvisation. No heroics. That's disappointing, Raven said. I glanced at him. You strike me as someone who enjoys controlled chaos. I prefer results. Good, I said. Then we're aligned. I reached for the map again. Adjusted it. Marked 3 points. Entry here, I said. Diversion here. Extraction here. Raven nodded. Timing. We create pressure first, I said. Make them react. And when they do, I met his gaze. We expose them. A pause. Then, we burn the system, Raven said. I smiled. Slow. Sharp. Careful, I said. You're starting to sound like me. That, finally, earned something real. A quiet exhale. Almost a laugh. Don't get used to it, he said. I leaned back slightly, arms crossing. No, I said. A beat. But I think I might like it. Operations always look clean on paper. They never are. Timing? Cade asked. 30 seconds, I said. Eyes on the feed. The building rose ahead of us. Gray, anonymous, deliberately forgettable. No signage. No official existence. Exactly the kind of place the council preferred. Raven stood beside me. Not speaking. Watching. Cameras? He asked. Looped. I replied. For now, he echoed. I glanced at him. That's your job. A faint shift. Acknowledgement. Go, I said. The doors didn't explode. They opened. Quiet. Precise. Inside. Clean hallways. Sterile lighting. No sound. Stay on me, I said into the comm. Cade and the others fanned out behind us. Controlled. Focused. This way, Raven murmured, already moving ahead. He didn't wait for permission. Didn't need to. We moved fast. Left turn. Security panel. Bypassed. A door slid open. And there they were. People. Not prisoners. Not officially, but contained. The Omega from before. The Alpha with triggers. Others. More than I expected. For a second, everything in me went still. Then, move, I said. Voice steady. We're getting you out. They hesitated. Of course they did. Too many false rescues. Too many controlled disappearances. It's Mason, I added. That was enough. They moved. Fast. 2 minutes, Cade said. We're not alone. Of course we weren't. The first wave hit the corridor hard. Council operatives. More than before. Prepared. Raven stepped forward. Didn't hesitate. Didn't look back. I've got this, he said. And then, he did. Not reckless. Not aggressive. Precise. He intercepted the first strike. Redirected the second. Controlled the third before it even landed. Space. He created space. For them. For me. Go. He snapped. I didn't argue. Didn't hesitate. Move. I repeated, guiding them past him, through the corridor, toward extraction. Behind me. Impact. Movement. Controlled chaos. I trusted him. That was new. Exit's clear, Cade said. 30 seconds. We reached it. Pushed through. Into open air. Alive. All of them. I turned. Just once. Raven stepped back from the corridor. Uninjured. Controlled. And behind him, the system. Still running. Still hidden. Not for long. Now, I said, pulling out the device. Cade grinned. About time. Data uploaded. Live stream activated. Evidence released. Hidden facilities. Unregistered detentions. Unstable classifications. All of it. Public. Irreversible. Silence. Fell. Just for a second. Then, everything changed. Raven stepped up beside me. Not in front. Not behind. With me. I glanced at him. You ready for this? I asked. He met my gaze. I already chose, he said. And this time, I believed him. The new Nocturne isn't the same. It's better. Different location. Better security. Less illusion. More truth. The lights are still violet. The music still hums low and steady. People still come here for the same reasons. To breathe. To exist. To not be hunted. But now, they're not hiding. Not really. I leaned against the balcony railing, watching the floor below. Same rhythm. Same movement. Different weight. Lighter. Try not to look so proud, Raven said from behind me. It's my natural expression, I replied. He stepped up beside me. No hesitation, no distance. Just there. You rebuilt fast, he said. I had motivation. That's one way to describe it. I glanced at him. You helped. Don't sound so surprised. I'm not, I said. I'm just enjoying it. A small pause. You're still watching everything, he added. Of course I am. You ever stop? I smiled faintly. When the room doesn't need me to. Below us. Laughter cut through the music. Real. Unforced. Alive. Raven followed my gaze. For a moment, we were quiet. Not tense. Not sharp. Just still. They're safe, he said. For now, I replied. He nodded. Didn't argue. Didn't pretend otherwise. I can work with that, he said. I huffed a quiet laugh. Careful. That almost sounded optimistic. Don't get used to it. Too late. He looked at me then. Really looked. Not analyzing. Not calculating. Just seeing. You didn't have to trust me, he said. I tilted my head. I didn't, I replied. A beat. I chose to. Something in his expression shifted. Softer. Warmer. That's worse, he said. I smiled. Probably. The distance between us narrowed. Not forced. Not questioned. Easy. Still think I'm a problem? He asked. I considered it. Oh, absolutely, I said. A pause. Then. But you're my problem now. That earned me a quiet exhale. Almost a laugh. Dangerous choice, he said. I leaned in slightly. Not dramatic. Not careful. Just enough. I've made worse. For a moment. Just a moment. It felt like the world stilled again. Then. He didn't step back. Good. I smiled. Softer now. Less sharp. More real. Because some things don't need control. Some things just need time. And maybe, just maybe, a little bit of risk. I glanced out over the room, one last time, then back at him. Turns out, I said lightly, letting the hunter in was the best mistake I ever made.